I think at the very, very top of this are powerful spiritual forces, even above
I read your book.
Even above the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. And they're in this because they are involved, the families in the past have been involved in the occult. And certainly you'll find this certainly with the European families as well. I mean, we find Prince Philip, for instance, has come out publicly and said that if he dies, he wants to be resurrected as a virus, so he could just simply kill a lot of people and certainly help the World Population Program. What sort of a human being would make that statement? Prince Philip, the consort of the Queen of England? The Queen of England's an important part of this whole Brotherhood of Darkness. You'll go right ahead there. Anything else you want to ask, Maurice?
In the year 2012, I don't buy into a lot of the hype, but do you think that spiritual forces were ushering in this new water? In short order, if you look on the dollar bill with our all-seeing eye of Horus, which is the all-seeing eye of Satan, right? It's not connected to the pyramid, but
right.
Would that part of the space speak that eye be connected to the pyramid?
When this whole new world order is constructed, then the triangle containing the all-seeing eye will settle into its place as the capstone. Bob, do you have any comments on what Maurice is saying?
I don't put a lot of credence in 2012. And I'll have to see it to believe it.
I think that's a good
projections of the Mayan calendar and things like that. And I'm just not into believing that.
I think
and I know that the Council on Foreign Relations and the Illuminati have already said that 2012 is not going to be their year. Everything's been set back 30 to 50 years. And Brzezinski said the same thing. So I don't think it's going to be a significant year from the reasons that people talk about. But I do think it's going to be a dreadful year for the world.
I think that's a pretty good appraisal. Okay, Maurice, thanks very much for calling. And again, our telephone number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY. 1-888-24-LIBERTY or 464-8295 if you have a question for our guest, because we're moving into, I believe in with Bob, that we're moving into very, very difficult times. I think things are going to get very bad before this year is over. I think they're going to be worse in 2011 and probably get about as bad as they can in 2012, because the whole financial system of the world is beginning to come apart, and there's no way they can fix it. I mean, what they ought to do is simply quit trying to fix it, let it collapse and start it all over again, but they're not going to do that. They're going to keep simply trying to get out of debt by borrowing more money. And you can't spend yourself into prosperity no matter how hard you try. Go right ahead, Bob.
Well, I think you're absolutely correct, and that's the bottom line. The question is, which way are they going to go? And we don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
All right. Well, certainly the people we have there, they all interconnect, and certainly the Timothy Geithner and certainly Larry Summers and Paul Volcker, they all tie into this banking cabal. Until you understand that, they're all working really against the best interest of the United States. They believe that an elite is so smart they can make a fiat money system work, despite the fact it's never worked in the past. But now we have the really smart people in charge, and they're going to make everything just fine, and the good times are going to roll again. The trouble is, they're fooling themselves. They're not going to roll again. We have reached the point of no return. And suddenly, when they begin to raise interest rates, it'll cost us so much to borrow money, all the money that's taken in by taxes, and we'll be going just to pay interest on the national debt. And finally get to the system, a point where the whole thing goes down like a deck of cards, like a house of cards. Our number, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, 464-8295. But they're going to have to raise those interest rates sooner or later, aren't they, Bob?
I think they will. It won't be precipitous in nature. I think it'll be slow. Some have already gone in that direction, like Australia, and they managed to begin the collapse of the housing market, which obviously they desired. And we cover Australia pretty good in the International Forecaster, so for those of you who would like information on that is available. But I would think that it's going to be a while before they can raise rates. It just is not going to work. They've got to keep the money that is being borrowed by banks from the Fed at a zero level so they can take it and get interest from the Fed of, say, 2 or 2.5%. And this is a gift. Of course, the interest that's paid to the banks comes out of the money that the Fed would have normally given back to the Treasury, because they only can clear expenses and that's the end of it. And so this is really another robbing of the American people. And of course, banks have cut back in loans to small and medium-sized companies by 20 to 25%, which is substantial. And even though the SBA, Small Business Association, has been more liberal in giving loans, it's in no way really a major factor in this loan scheme for companies that need money to expand or to increase and hire people.
And of course, really, basically, small business makes up about 80% of the jobs in this country. And a small business can't borrow money, they can't expand, they can't buy equipment, and of course, this is why, of course, the economy is languishing, and it's all planned that way. For the first time in history, the Federal Reserve System is paying banks not to loan. All the time they're saying, if we could just get the banks to loan, they're doing everything they can to discourage them from loaning, because they know if they started loaning money again by the fractional reserve system, why we'd have runaway inflation. So they're controlling inflation by strangling the small businesses, but they can't let the American people know.